Right now, you have a friend who would send you $200 without asking why. No questions, no interest, no memory of it by next week. And you have another friend, someone you've known just as long, who wouldn't spot you $20 for a coffee. The difference between them was never really about character. It was about income, yours and theirs. Nobody warns you about this part. They tell you about the house you'll buy, the vacations, the number that grows in the account every year. Nobody tells you what happens to the group chat. Nobody tells you which names quietly stop showing up in it. Money doesn't just change what you can afford. It changes who stays, who drifts, who starts asking for things, and who quietly disappears. This is what happens to friendship at every level of income, from $28,000 a year to $10 million and beyond. Level 1, $28,000 a year. At $28,000 a year, friendship is survival. You and Ryan have known each other since you were 14. He makes almost exactly what you make. You split a pizza down to the dollar, not because you're cheap, but because neither of you has a dollar to spare. When your card gets declined at the register, Ryan doesn't blink. He just taps his. When his rent is short, you send it over without a second thought. There's no ledger between you. There's no score. You've been broke together often enough that broke stopped being embarrassing a long time ago. It's just Tuesday. At this level, shared scarcity is one of the strongest bonds two people can have because there's nothing to compare, nothing to hide, and nothing either of you has that the other doesn't. The two of you have a running joke about the exact number of days until payday, and neither of you ever has to explain the joke to anyone else. You don't know it yet, but this is the easiest your friendship will ever be. Level 2, $45,000 a year. $45,000 a year buys you a seat at a table you didn't know existed. Your new job has happy hours, $14 cocktails, coworkers who order appetizers without checking the price first. You go and you laugh and you split a check that costs more than Ryan spends in a week. Then you go home and text in like nothing happened. You don't mention the cocktails. You don't mention the bill. It's not a lie, exactly. It's just the first thing you learn to leave out, small enough to feel harmless, small enough that you almost forget you did it. One of your new coworkers asks, half joking, whether your old friends even know what you do for a living now. You laugh it off, but the question sits with you longer than you expected. You still show up for Ryan's birthday at the same diner you've gone to since high school, but you check the time on your phone a little more than you used to. This is the first income level where you start living in two financial worlds at once and quietly managing which friends see which version of your life. Level 3, $65,000 a year. At $65,000 a year, you can cover a dinner bill without doing math in your head first. It feels good. Right up until Ryan asks to borrow $300 for his car. You say yes immediately. Of course you do. It's Ryan. You don't even really think of it as lending. You think of it as helping. But something shifts the moment the money leaves your account. You're no longer trading favors between equals. You're the one who can afford to be generous, and he's the one who has to ask. He pays you back 3 weeks later, in cash, folded twice, and neither of you mentions it again. The $300 becomes the kind of thing you both remember without ever bringing up, a small stone dropped at the bottom of a pond. The friendship still works. It just works differently now. Level 4, $95,000 a year. $95,000 a year buys an apartment with a view, a newer car, a life that looks different from the one you grew up sharing with Ryan. You stop mentioning the rent increase. You stop mentioning the car payment. Not out of shame, but because explaining it means explaining the gap, and the gap is easier to manage in silence. Ryan visits once and doesn't say much about the apartment, just quieter than usual on the drive back to his place. Neither of you brings it up. The apartment has a dishwasher. Ryan's doesn't. It's a small thing, but small things are usually what add up first. Around this time, you meet coworkers who make what you make, and something strange happens. You have less in common with them than you do with Ryan, but there's no financial tension to navigate. Comfort, it turns out, is its own kind of chemistry, and it's easier to mistake for friendship than you'd think. Level 5, $150,000 a year. At $150,000 a year, you meet Vanessa at a conference dinner. She orders the same wine you were about to order. She mentions a bonus number that lands almost exactly on Y hours. The friendship forms instantly because for the first time in years, there's no financial asymmetry to manage. No one's holding back. No one's keeping score. It feels like relief, the kind you didn't know you'd been missing. You start texting Vanessa more than you text anyone else, and it doesn't even feel strange. It just feels easy. Vanessa remembers your coffee order after one dinner together. Ryan has known it for a decade. You don't notice the asymmetry yet. Meanwhile, your calls with Ryan get shorter. Not colder, just shorter. You stopped having the same week a while ago. His stayed the same. Yours kept climbing. Level 6, $300,000 a year. $300,000 a year makes you the rich friend in every room you walk into. People ask you to invest in their startup. People ask for quick loans that both of you know will never be repaid. Even people you barely know find a way to mention what they're going through financially within the first 10 minutes of meeting you. Every request now comes with a calculation attached. Is this about me or about what I have? You start pre-deciding your answer before people even finish asking, just to save yourself the discomfort of watching them do it. Ryan stops asking you for anything at all. Not because he doesn't need it, you suspect, but because asking feels different now than it used to, and neither of you wants to find out how different. The calls become occasions instead of habits, birthdays, holidays. The friendship isn't gone. It's just been moved to a different shelf. Level 7, $750,000 a year. By $750,000 a year, your social circle has been quietly curated, whether you meant it to happen or not. Vanessa is still your closest confidant, except you notice she only calls when she needs an introduction or a tip on where you're investing. You laugh it off the first time. The second time, you count. The third time, you start wondering how long this has actually been the pattern and how long you've been choosing not to see it. You think about calling Ryan just to talk, the way you used to, and realize you can't remember the last time a conversation with anyone didn't have an angle to it. You joke to yourself that friendship above a certain income bracket should come with a background check. It doesn't feel much like a joke anymore. Money doesn't create people like this. It just gives them a reason to stay close enough to be useful. Level 8, $2 million a year. At $2 million a year, trust becomes a skill you have to practice on purpose. Every compliment gets a silent audit. Every "let's catch up" gets a motive assigned before you've even replied. When Vanessa asks for $200,000 to get in early on a deal, you finally see the shape of the whole friendship at once. Years of it, rearranging itself in your head into a single, obvious pattern. You say no, for the first time, to her. She doesn't call again. It doesn't feel like losing a friend. It feels like closing a tab that had been open far too long. You've started testing people, quietly, small situations that mean nothing at all, just to see who they are when nothing's actually at stake. But now every new person who wants to know you gets the same suspicion Vanessa earned, whether they deserve it or not. Level 9, $10 million a year and beyond. At $10 million a year and beyond, Genuine friendship becomes the rarest thing you own, rarer than any asset in your portfolio. Most people who want to be near you want something adjacent to your money, and you've gotten fast, maybe too fast, at spotting the difference. You started assuming the worst before anyone's given you a reason to. Somewhere in the last decade, you stopped being able to tell whether people liked spending time with you or liked spending time near your money. Ryan was never one of those questions you had to ask. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday, he calls. Not for money, not for advice, not for an introduction. He calls because his kid did something funny at dinner, and you were the first person he thought to tell. He has no idea what your net worth is, and he wouldn't know how to ask. It simply never occurred to him to wonder. That 5-minute call is worth more than anything the last decade of income bought you. Go back to the beginning. The friend who'd send $200 without asking why, that was never about the money he had. It was about the person he was, at $28,000 a year and every year since. Wealth doesn't create loyalty, and it doesn't destroy it either. It just applies pressure, level after level, until you can see exactly who was real all along and who was only ever there for what you could offer. So ask yourself, wherever you are on this scale right now, who is your Ryan? Who is your Vanessa? And have you figured out which one yet? 9 levels. One number that kept changing, and one person who never once needed it to. And more importantly, have you called him lately?